Welcome to our podcast, Raising Bigs. This podcast is an ongoing conversation between myself and my young adult son. We're ready and willing to talk about all the things families might experience in their lives and relationships, both as parents and young adults, from teens to 20-somethings, the good, the bad, and the ugly. In this episode, we're sharing our personal favorite things list, 5 things from Cade and 5 from me. A lot of different holidays are being celebrated at this time of year, and no matter what you celebrate, there are some elements that everyone's holiday seems to have in common. One of them is gift giving. Sometimes you have a great wish list to work from when you're shopping, but often you're struggling to find a present that is just right. Maybe our favorites we're about to share will spark an idea for you and make shopping a little bit easier. Let's dive in. I'm Marcy, and I'm the mom.
I'm Cade, and I'm her kid. It has taken us years to perfect our wish list sharing system. What works for us is Amazon wish lists and Apple Notes that we can share a specific link to all of our family, and that way we have a family group chat. We just kind of send our links in there, and that's our way of sharing our lists. But in those lists, it's products that we might like or experiences we may like, and we also include the details. So for clothes, we'll include sizes and colors and things like that. We share them with the family. And as a result, that way we know, if we're buying something for birthdays or for Christmas or whatever it may be, we're getting something that the other person will enjoy, actually use, and will get some good use out of. But we also listen closely throughout the year and pick up on things that we can kind of give as a surprise gift. I know me and my mom have talked about that sometimes of, it'll be Christmas, but back in July, one of us will have mentioned something and we'll end up getting it for each other. And those to me are my favorite kind of gifts to give. So although some of those surprise gifts are fun to give, it's also nice to have a list so that way people who maybe don't come up with ideas or forgot what you've mentioned throughout the year are able to find something that they can give to you. I know that I'm personally not the best at making lists. My mom every Christmas and every birthday is badgering me to give her a list of what I want. But on this episode today, we're going to kind of share what we would like to get and what kind of our favorite things are. So Mom, let's start with you. Can you tell us one of your favorite things to get?
I sure can. And I kind of went with, and actually I think Cade, you did too, kind of went with things that are kind of broad categories. So like I didn't say I want this specific shirt from Target. Like that might be what's on my list or whatever, but that's not the type of things I included on this list. These are the types or categories of gifts that I like to receive. So number one would be an experience. So if there is someone that I like to listen to that's coming in concert, if there's a play, one of the authors or podcasters that I listen to routinely, if they're coming near us in Wichita, if someone were to pick up tickets for me to go to that, and hopefully they want to go with me, and if not, buy me 1 ticket just for myself or 2, and I can take whoever else would like to go. That is something really meaningful to me because it means not only do they pay attention to what it is that I'm consuming or enjoying when it comes to going to plays, going to movies, those kinds of things, or kind of what's in my influencer sphere. I just really enjoy being able to go see those things live and have those experiences. So for me, an experience is always a good gift. So that's my number one.
For sure. I think that that's a good gift because sometimes I think, especially in today's society, a lot of gifts have become kind of materialistic. And not that I think that that's a bad thing. I hate when people are like, oh, I'm okay with not getting any gifts on Christmas because it's about family. And it is, but also it's nice to get a gift. And there's nothing wrong or shameful in saying that. But I do think sometimes getting a lot of physical gifts can just be kind of like overwhelming. And then you're wondering, okay, where do I put this? Or even as a kid, it's like, okay, you get so many toys all the time. It's like, do you really need 10 different gift bags full of toys? So I think those experiences, like you mentioned, are something that's nice just to switch it up and you still get to do something that you enjoy and see someone or something or whatever that it is. So I really like that idea, Mom.
Yeah, I know you probably even remember when you were little that like I limited the number of gifts that you guys were given. We celebrate Christmas in our family. So there was always one gift from mom and dad, and then there was a small pile from Santa and then some stocking stuffers. And it would bother me if we went to extended family gatherings and there were people who were focused on the size of the pile under the tree. Like that always bothered me. And when it took hours and hours and hours for people to unwrap gifts, and then you got to bring all that stuff home and you got to find a spot for it. So things like experiences kind of eliminate some of that.
For sure.
It's something that'll be like over after a period of time, but then you have the memory forever.
I would say it also kind of gives you something to look forward to. Like it's not, you don't get all of the happiness just on Christmas Day or just on your birthday or, whatever the gift is for. it's like, you get something that you can use that day, but then you also have, okay, in 3 months, we're going to my favorite concert, see my favorite artist in concert or whatever it is. Just kind of spreads out that Christmas joy.
For sure. What about you for your number one, Cade?
Yeah, my number one, I kind of went with you too. I went very broad in kind of my topics. So that way, the listeners can kind of maybe make it to themselves where they can share their own list or think about the people they're giving gifts to. But mine would be something useful. So something that, either you yourself or if you're thinking about getting a gift for someone, something that may make their, daily life better. If you have someone who really enjoys coffee, buying them a new coffee machine or something like that. Or if you have someone who is really into organization and things like that, maybe buying them a planner or buying them pens to, write in their planner or things like that. I think sometimes those useful things, although they aren't necessarily as much of like a treat as, big gifts, I think that they can definitely come in handy. And like I said, whether it be a coffee maker or some sort of kitchen utensil or anything like that, those useful things sometimes it's hard to justify buying for ourselves, especially, if you already have maybe you have an old coffee maker that isn't, working super great, but kind of it gets the job done. Buying something like that can really be a good gift. So that's my number one.
Yeah, and like you said, it might not be that, super fancy gift that, someone else might buy, but like
Mm-hmm.
let's say you were to buy me a new upgraded coffee maker, right? From what I
Mm-hmm.
like that is something I would use every single day, multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I used it, I would remember how thoughtful you were to buy that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so even though it's a practical gift, if it's something that's making my life easier that I get to use on an ongoing basis, we've done silly things in the past, like, dividers for the back of our SUVs, right? To put
Mm-hmm.
organize everything in it. And it's like every time I use that, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a really great Christmas gift.
Exactly.
So
Uh-huh.
while it may seem practical and not real fun or exciting, it is the gift that keeps on giving. So, and
For
sometimes
sure.
years. So I like that one, Cade.
Yep. What about you, Mom? What is your second thing?
My number two is a pampering appointment. And, I spend a lot of time talking about self care, and there's a side of self care that has nothing to do with what a pampering appointment would mean to me, which is things like a pedicure or a facial or a massage. There's a lot of other things you can do for self care that don't involve the appointments. So sometimes, especially when money is tight, those are the things, the pampering appointments are the things that come off the top of my budget, right? I just get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even though I really, really love them, like they're expensive, and especially if the budget is tight. And so I will tend to do the other self-care things that are free or cheap, inexpensive, like taking a walk outside or spending some
Mm-hmm.
or meditating. And so a pampering appointment for me is something that I really, really enjoy, and it just lets me check out for a little while, and it's something I may not treat myself to. And so that, I think, is a really thoughtful gift when someone who enjoys that kind of stuff but maybe doesn't do it very often.
Mm-hmm.
So
For sure. I think that's a good idea because, like you said, sometimes either when money's tight or if you're busy or things like that, um, those are the things that kind of take the back burner. So I think that having that as a gift, you still get to enjoy it, but you don't have to spend the money or you don't have to plan it or different things like that. Definitely makes a difference for sure.
and it's much more motivating to get it scheduled when it's already paid for. Like
Exactly.
that's the best
Uh-huh.
part. So how about your
For
number,
sure.
Cade?
My number two is something sentimental. So whether that be a scrapbook or some sort of handmade gift, different things like that, I think again kind of go out of the norm of a gift of toys or clothes or things like that. And it's something that, depending on what it is, could kind of be the gift that keeps on giving. If you make someone a scrapbook or something like that, they can continue to go through it and look over all the memories of what you've had. Or I've seen a bunch of ideas of things on like TikTok and Pinterest and Facebook and stuff. Like I know people for their spouses have created like little mason jars with like 50 things I love about you and put them all on sticky notes and fold them up and put them in the jars. So that way, if your partner's, having a down day or something like that, they can go back and look through it and be reminded of why you love them or something like that. So I think sometimes those sentimental gifts like that, or if maybe you and your siblings went on a vacation and you got, your favorite picture from the vacation, if you got it framed or something like that, that way they could, have it in their house. Different sentimental gifts like that, I think, are really fun and exciting. And again, kind of like we talked about earlier, shows that you've maybe been listening and paying attention throughout the year, or you're looking back at the past year and giving them something that they can remember that by. So that is my second one. I really like that as a gift idea.
I like sentimental things too. And, it's like every time again that they look at it, they're going to remember. And especially like if you've traveled together or there's something you always do together and
Hmm.
capture those memories or those moments. Or like, I know, I've been on trips before and it's like, you tend to go into the little shops and you like look at things and there might be something you really liked, but
Hmm.
you set it down and you went back and looked at it again and you set it down again and you didn't pick it up. But then at some point, the person you were traveling with goes back to that store,
Hmm.
picks it up, and then at Christmas time it shows up. Like those types of things, or even, a coffee mug that has a special saying that you associate,
Hmm.
a person. Those things can be either, like you said, made by you or customized in another way. So that like I have a gift in mind for a group of my girlfriends this year. That is something that I totally associate with that group of friends, and that every time they look at it, they will think about the group of friends,
Hmm.
how lucky we are to have each other. So I love something sentimental, Kane.
For sure.
Number three for me is consumables. So I talked before about how I always hated the huge pile of presents, and I remember having
Hmm.
to find a spot, right, for all that new stuff. And it was easier when you guys were little and the stuff was toys, and I would make you get rid of some toys to donate before Christmas so there was room to put the new ones in
Hmm.
the pile, right? But it gets different as you get older, and it's just like harder sometimes to find a spot for all of the things if everything is a physical item. Consumables, whether it's something that is someone's favorite. So like if you're buying me, like I love the holiday coffees. So like if somebody went and bought me 6 boxes of the holiday coffees and gave those to me because they know that I like them, that would mean a lot.
Hmm.
Or if there's some new interest I've mentioned to them. So, for instance, I'm trying to learn to like tea. That's one of my goals for 2025, other than chai tea. And so, I have an electric kettle on my list because
Hmm.
I know that I'm more likely to drink the tea if there is a kettle with hot water ready to go right there, rather
Hmm.
than to go through the length of time it takes to heat up an actual kettle on the stove. So, I also don't have much in the way of tea bags and different kinds of tea bags,
Hmm.
any of the things that go with tea. Like I just don't own anything. So, and those are small things, right? They don't have to be big,
Hmm.
expensive things. But if you hear someone express a new interest, something they're looking to maybe get into or want to explore, getting them something that speaks to that thing that they're trying to discover or that up level they're trying to make in their life just really makes them feel heard or listened to. If you buy them their favorite, it makes them feel like, hey, this person really knows me because they know how much I like this thing.
Hmm.
And it could be something for home or it could be something out and about. So, for instance, I love new restaurants. So, people know that if they wanted to get me a restaurant gift card, that it would be really fun to get me one to somewhere new in town, right?
Hmm.
Cade loves him some Texas Roadhouse. And everybody
Hmm.
knows if they would like to get Cade a gift certificate, that would be one of the places that he's very likely to go. And if someone
Hmm.
else is going to pay for his meal, that's fantastic. So it can be, again, something to use at home or something to use out and about. But
For
consumable
sure.
favorite for me.
Well, I think like we talked about with those consumables is they don't take up space and they don't, you'll use them, whether it's the tea bags, you'll be able to use them and maybe someone would buy a tea that you normally wouldn't try and you end up liking it. Or they buy a tea that you wanted and you ended up not liking it, but then like you haven't spent your money, using it. So I think that those are always good ideas. And again, it's like then as you are making that tea, you'll remember, oh, I got this. Or as you're, the example you got of getting someone a gift card to their favorite restaurant, you'll be able to remember, remember the gift. So I think that that's definitely a really, really good idea, Mom.
How about your number three, Cade?
For sure. My number three is gift cards or money or anything like that towards something that is maybe a higher quality than what the person normally buys. So, where this idea came from is maybe if you have someone in your life who really enjoys working out and they buy their workout clothes from maybe Walmart or Target or, cheap workout clothes brands, less expensive clothes. Not that that is a bad thing at all, but it might be nice for them to treat themselves to, a nicer quality workout, whether that workout gear, whether it be Lululemon or a nice, Nike or something like that. Any of those brands, I think that something like that, it's hard to justify yourself to spend that money. But if somebody else gives you a gift card or gives you money or buys you something from a nicer brand, it just gets you one step closer to buying that and being able to enjoy that. So workout clothes was one kind of example I gave, but it could also be if someone really enjoys purses, but they just get their purses from Target or Marshalls or things like that. Again, not that anything's wrong with that, but maybe getting them a gift card so they can go get a Coach purse or something like that. It just kind of takes something they're already interested in, but allows them to treat themselves to a higher level. I think that that's always exciting because, like I said, it's hard to justify spending that money yourself. You know, why would I buy this $80 Lululemon shirt when I could buy this $30 Nike shirt? But if I already have a $60 Lululemon gift card, then I only need to spend $20 of my own money to get that shirt or whatever it may be. So I think that that's always nice to, it allows people to treat themselves and get what they'd like.
Yeah, to treat themselves to that luxury brand. And I noticed when you were talking about it, it didn't mean necessarily giving them all of the money for the item.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't afford to gift at that level, that's great. Even a partial payment towards
Mm-hmm.
that thing that they're really liking. You never know. They might take that gift card you bought them to, I'll say Lululemon again, plus
Mm-hmm.
the Christmas money they got from grandma and grandpa, and put that together with their $30 they would have spent. And now
Mm-hmm.
they have the leggings they want or whatever that might be.
Exactly.
That ability to up level because of a thoughtful gift, that is a really
Mm-hmm.
unique outlook, Kate. And I enjoy that idea
For
a lot.
sure.
Got my head
For
spinning.
sure. And then again, I think that it all just kind of comes full circle to then every time you put on that new workout gear, every time you wear that new purse that's nicer or whatever, you always think about, oh, you know, I was able to use the gift card my mom got me for this or whatever. So I think it all just helps bring it full circle.
And we always try to think about things in an abundant mindset around here. And we have a saying that we use
Mm-hmm.
called no broke behavior. And it's like, while we can be thrifty, we don't want to
Mm-hmm.
act like we're broke. So if we've got something, and Kate calls me out on this all the time, like I will be using something
Mm-hmm.
that has holes in it or that is broken or whatever. And it
Mm-hmm.
might be something that only costs $3 to buy a new one. But maybe I just haven't done it yet, or I've been like, oh, I don't want to spend the money on that. And oh, no broke behavior, mom. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you can allow somebody to have that experience, that luxury experience, I don't know, maybe we apply this thought and, you know, solve a no broke behavior problem for them. That is a fun way to do
For
that.
sure.
Great.
For
Number
sure.
three.
What is your number 4, Mom?
So for me, it's something homemade or crafted, and this could be by you or by someone else. You know, this is something that used to happen a lot back in the day when I was growing up. People used to do like, you know, jars of jam, or they would take big mason jars and they would create like cookie kits. And all you had to mix in was your butter, and it was like different
Mm-hmm.
ingredients that you needed for cookies. Or my grandma, fond memory, used to make us homemade underwear. Now, did I think that was cool when I was 12? Absolutely not. But I look
Mm-hmm.
back on it now and I was just like, oh my goodness, you know, I had new white granny panties every year that were made by my granny, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that. Now I look back at that and I'm like, how much she must have loved the 10 of us to make us all homemade underwear. Christmas time. And she was a great seamstress, and to spend her time doing that. And, you know, what I don't know for sure what their financial situation was, but it very well could have been a thrifty move on her part, right? To watch all
Mm-hmm.
year for you know, underwear fabric, and to be able to make us undies at Christmas. So those homemade things are fun, but it could also be crafted by someone else. So for instance, one of my friends here in Wichita owns a shop that features all local artisans and crafters. And I like going in there to shop because it's all unique stuff. It's all
Mm-hmm.
made by someone local, right? And it's a small business that I can support. Not only my friend's shop, who has all these vendors in one location, but each of these vendors is their own small business. And
Mm-hmm.
I love being able to find something unique, find something that is like not a million other people can own it, like they can
Mm-hmm.
Target or off of Amazon. It's just something special that you pick out. Or if there's a crafting project that you're working on yourself, gifting people that you love with that can be really fun. And you're feeling like
Mm-hmm.
a piece of your heart, right? When you gift them with that. So something homemade or crafted.
For sure, for sure. I like that because, like I said, it kind of adds that little extra meaning into it, knowing that either the person who gave it to you put in the work for it or found somebody to put in the work. Because even if someone else, you know, made something homemade, the fact that they, you know, were looking for something specific, and I know on like sites like Etsy and stuff like that, you can get someone to customize things. I know, like for your wedding gift, someone had got you a charcuterie board that had, you know, your last name and everything on it. Which it's like, that's great because they could have just gotten you a charcuterie board, but they took that a step further and made it a little more personal and gave you something crafted. So I think that definitely just adds an extra layer to gifts.
For sure. I love the personalization piece. I just really
Hmm.
that because that is definitely not something that I would go and do for myself.
Hmm. For sure. And you just may go buy a charcuterie board and use that, but to have that extra level is always nice.
Yep, for sure. What's your number 4, Cade?
My number 4 is going to be money towards travel. As it's been a common theme throughout this podcast, I really enjoy traveling. And sometimes having money for that just makes it a little bit easier and kind of takes some of that off, kind of like we talked about earlier with gift cards and things like that. It doesn't need to be a fully funded trip somewhere, but even just saying, hey, I know you have a trip coming up, here's $100 towards it, and I don't know. I really like that because it just kind of then you can spend that $100 and maybe do an activity while you're there, or upgrade your flight, or different things like that. It just allows you to kind of enjoy that experience, maybe a little bit less stress if you're stressed about the financial part of it, or maybe it allows you to take one extra trip throughout the year. I think Airbnb also sells gift cards, or certain hotel brands sell gift cards, airlines sell gift cards. I know that, so maybe if you know someone who they always fly Delta or they always fly American or something like that, give them a gift card for that. And the reason I like that is because, kind of like we talked about, is I really struggle with coming up with a list for gifts, and especially physical gifts. Because a lot of times throughout the year, if I see something I want, I'll just buy it and move on and not save it for Christmas. But having that money towards that, it's something that I'm going to do anyways, and it's something that I enjoy. So having the money to do that definitely makes it a little bit better.
Yeah, it's funny, we used to joke around in our family because my kids, anything they started asking for, like from October on, it was like, put it on your Christmas list, put it on your Christmas list. And so if they came
Mm-hmm.
and asked for something practical, like, oh my gosh, mom, all my socks have holes in them, I'm like, put them on your Christmas list. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have socks on my Christmas list. But socks are a really good gift now. As a matter of fact, I think probably out of the 5 or 6 people in our household that we buy for, like probably half of them will have new socks on their list.
Uh-huh. I'm
And
sure.
I think that's something that young adults don't appreciate having to spend money on.
Mm-hmm.
Is those basics like that. They would rather spend their money
Uh-huh.
on fun things or experiences. So I like that, money towards
For
travel.
sure.
So my number 5 is to shop local, which we talked a little bit about that with the crafting or the homemade item. But I think also, when you're looking at things that maybe are unique to the area you live in, or things that represent the area you live in, for instance, we have a winery that's close to home. And I know when it was Father's Day time, my dad likes to have a glass of wine. And so I was like, ooh, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get some Grace Hill wines and give them to him for Father's Day. And he's really enjoyed those. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll get little reports back like, oh, I really, really liked that one. And so that was something local and unique to my area that I can then share that I love with maybe someone who doesn't live here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there are bakeries, there's just all kinds of things that you wouldn't necessarily think of, but if you start looking in and around your area, especially smaller shopping districts, will have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of small shops, um, artsy type areas. I live in a small town about 30 minutes north of Wichita, and if I go into Wichita, I'm usually doing the big box things, but I don't really have much for big box options in Newton. And so a lot of times it's stopping into those smaller stores to see what they have that might be unique to the area. And I know when I'm at people's houses, I notice unique things that they maybe have from around their area. And I'm like, ooh, that would be cool to, have one of those or have it represent. And that can go for if you are traveling throughout the year, picking up something that is local. I know I was up in Kansas City. I was dog sitting for 5 days for my good friend, but my husband came up for the weekend and we went to the art fair, and
Mm-hmm.
there's stuff there. Like I came home with business cards. I came home with an idea list of things that, if I'm looking for something or I'm stumped for something down the road, I know some things that we came across or artists that we came across that we
Mm-hmm.
really liked, not local to us, but local to somewhere we traveled.
For
So
sure.
that shopping local piece, I think a lot of times the easy out is to order stuff on Amazon or
Mm-hmm.
walk into Target or Walmart and find something, fill your cart, right? You have found something for them. But I really enjoy, and I know not everybody does, but I really enjoy coming up with the thoughtful gift.
Mm-hmm.
Shopping local can help that.
For sure. I definitely like that idea. And like you said, it's one, nice to support local businesses, but two, either to support a local business in the community that, whoever you're giving the gift to, or to support a local business around you and then be able to share that with someone else. So I think that that's really important for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of times if you shop online at those local businesses, like maybe you don't go into the store, but you shop online, you can ship that to whoever. So if you have people you're sending to that live away, you can send that to them instead of having it shipped to you and then you having to wrap it and package it up and send it off. You can do that wherever you're ordering from online. So if you have gifts that need to go away, I remember back in the day, we always used to go stand at the post office with our big boxes and everything was wrapped and you're trying to make sure stuff didn't break. And it's like, cost you more money to ship the stuff usually than the stuff cost you. Well, that doesn't have to happen anymore. So I would encourage you to look into that.
For sure. And my fifth thing is any sort of classes or sessions that could be used to improve someone's hobbies. So for example, if like I like working out, if someone were to gift me maybe like personal training sessions or some sort of online seminar to, talk about running or whatever it may be, whatever someone's hobbies are, I think getting sessions like that is something really important because it improves their hobby and it allows them to do something that they want to do. And maybe they wouldn't normally buy a class for themselves. So if you have someone who likes to paint, maybe finding a local painting class or pottery or sewing or whatever it is that they like to do, finding a class or a session or even like an ebook or something like that that can be used to improve their hobbies. I think a lot of times people struggle to invest in themselves on those because they think, oh, it's just a hobby and, I like to paint, but it's cool, it's whatever. But having those classes provided for you, it's always a nice experience and gets you to do something that you may not normally do.
Yeah. And so that makes me think of, beyond the classes and sessions, even like, for instance, if I knew someone who loved quilting, we have an adorable quilt shop downtown to be able to go there and maybe get a gift card from that store that then they could go in and they could pick out certain fabrics they want, for their next crafting. Or if there's a new tool that they're wanting to buy, they could do that as well. So I love that idea of allowing someone to improve on their skills with a hobby or their enjoyment of a hobby by giving them a gift.
Well, that is a pretty good list that we came up with. And so I hope if you are stuck on a gift for a specific person or even struggling to come up with gift ideas for yourself, hopefully we gave you some things that you can consider. Again, we tried to keep these pretty broad so that way they're not as personalized to us, but maybe might start some thoughts for the rest of you. As your kids get older and grow into bigs, what they want changes, and it might be a little more challenging to shop for them than just a trip to the toy store. There may be fewer packages if what they desire is a little more expensive, or maybe the gifts are a little more practical, like what they need and what they want as they are establishing new homes and growing into their adult life. If your big is traveling home by air or train, you may want to wrap a picture of their gift and send them the actual gift to their house so that way they don't have to worry about lugging it all the way back home. I know we've done that a lot as my older brother has moved on is we'll ship the packages to his house and then maybe just print off a picture of the order confirmation or something like that. So that way they still have something nice to unwrap on Christmas Day. If finances are tight, we know that it's not what you spend, but it's the thought behind the gift that really matters. I think sometimes a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on either how many gifts they have or how much money is spent on the gifts, but sometimes the less expensive gifts mean even more.
And it can be hard to shop for parents too as they age. But anything you can give them to make their life easier or a little more enjoyable is sure to be treasured. But most of all, it's because you bought it for them. Like that's what means the most. So it doesn't have to be expensive, but it is nice to put some effort into the presentation, especially if Santa spent years wrapping presents beautifully for you, wink, wink. You might want to return the favor and give your parent a pretty package to open. If you can arrange the gift of time at the holidays, whether that is to stop by their house and help them put up their lights or to just come hang out and sit around the fire on the actual holiday, anything in between, it might mean the world to them. So I hope everybody has a happy time holiday shopping. Try to avoid the crowds if you can. But with that, Kate, I'll let you close us out.
We hope you all have a great holiday season. And with that being said, that is a wrap for this episode of Raising Bigs. We thank you all for listening today. We hope you found some takeaways, a fresh perspective, and maybe even an action step or two in this episode. We are not experts, but we can authentically share what we're learning in hopes of making the path a little bit more joy-filled for those who are listening. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. Please subscribe and share with those in your circle who you think might benefit from hearing it. A new episode is released every week on those 3 platforms.
You can visit my life coaching website at marcyhawkinson.com or email me at lifecoachmarcy@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at Life Coach Marcy and Instagram at life_coach_Marcy. Where can our listeners find you, Cade?
My handle across all social media platforms is at the Cade Berrigan. That's where you can find me. The best way to contact us or give us feedback is to DM either one of us on social media, or again, to reach out on the contact me page on my mom's website, which is marcyhawkinson.com. We appreciate any feedback or topic ideas that you may like to share, and we will see you next time on Raising Bigs.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.